So what happens if the Oklahoma Sooner defense has the same level of improvement from year 2 to year 3 under Brent Venables as it had from year 1 to year 2? Might that 7.5 win projection from FanDuel be a little low then? Welcome back to Hall of Fame College Football's Sooner Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, and if you love college football, and particularly Oklahoma Sooner football, you are definitely in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss one moment of the Hall of Fame College Football Sooner Magic Podcast. Wanted to thank everybody again for coming back and for checking out our last video on Jackson Arnold. Love putting out this content for everybody. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And, hey, be sure to take care of our sponsors that take care of this show. Mint Mobile, you can get an amazing deal off your wireless. You can get rid of big wireless and get with smart wireless. $45 for 3 months. That's just $15 a month, unlimited talk, text, and data. Make sure you jump on there and do that. Also, Devil Dogs Brew and Beans, a veteran-owned coffee company serving veterans. 10% off your first order of this amazing coffee by using promo code BOOMER, hofmedia.us/coffee. Make sure to jump in there and check that out. The best part about our partnership with Devil Dogs is the fact that 5% of all sales goes to the Wounded Warrior Project. That was a big deal for guys like Toby Keith, a big Sooner fan. It's a big deal for me as a veteran myself. Again, the easy way to kind of take care of our show is just to make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, share it with your friends. Okay. Talking a little bit again about why it is that this Oklahoma football team is going to be, in my estimation, well better than 7 wins, 7.5, if that's the projection, is what they were showing there on FanDuel. Look, the biggest thing for me, we talked about it on the last video about Jackson Arnold. If he is what we all expect him to be moving forward, I think that it's a shoo-in. The reason why is because of the Oklahoma defense, and now going into its 3rd season under head coach Brent Venables, who has a track record of building amazing defenses. You obviously had Zach Alley take over as defensive coordinator this year for Ted Roof. Zach Alley spent 7 years working with Coach Venables. They're calling him a Coach Venables clone. And if he is doing the things that Coach V likes to do, you're looking at a big improvement in year 3, just like you saw from year 1 to year 2. Now, what I would caution with is one of the things you want to look at when you start talking about the Oklahoma defense in year 2. There were times that it was much better. Towards the end of the season, it definitely fell off. Now, it was still an improvement over the year before. The early part of the season, before you had some injuries hit to key players, such as, Danny Stutzman getting hurt after the Texas game, you saw some big drops on that. When you didn't have guys like Gentry Williams in there, some of those guys that were very important to that defense that weren't around a ton in the second half of the season. Still, it was a big improvement. And as you'll see with Brent Venables' defenses, year 3 tends to be a huge, huge year for his defenses when he was when he was obviously a defensive coordinator. We can go back to Clemson and kind of look at some of these numbers, and it just kind of blows you away. But the other big thing is obviously when you start looking at what this Oklahoma football team was post Bob Stoops and throughout the Lincoln Riley years, it turned into a soft, non-defensive program. A lot of that had to do with strength and conditioning. A lot of it had to do with just bad defensive scheming. As you saw with USC here in his second year, their defense got in a bunch of really good players through the portal and got worse from year 1 to year 2. This is what we have come accustomed to in the 6 years of Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. His first season was the best season. They were still big. They were still strong. That was also the year that Schmitty was fired from the Oklahoma strength and conditioning staff. He ended up at Texas A&M until Venables took over just a couple of years ago. Now, what I would tell you is this. Year 1 of total defense for Oklahoma, not good. Again, you were dealing with a lot of roster turnover. You were also dealing with playing a completely different scheme that really, really hurt the guys that were left over. Of the guys that you have left, and we're talking about on the defensive side of the football, you now have what I believe 4 players on that defense, starters or most of the time players left from the Lincoln Riley era. Are Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, Ethan Downs, and of course Woody Washington, who's coming back for one more year as well. Look, these are good defensive players no matter what. They were good even in year 1, but they certainly improved from year 1 to year 2. What you've also seen over the past few recruiting cycles, now 3 straight recruiting cycles for Venables, they have picked up big time talent in high school recruiting and throughout the portal. They're coming into this SEC first year in the SEC with an opportunity to be very, very good on defense. Now, if you look at the first year of total defense, they were 123rd. That's yards per game given up, total defense. They were 123rd out of 131 schools. They bumped that up in year 2 at Oklahoma to 67th. I believe that actually probably was a little bit better. Again, in the second half, you saw it fall off just a little bit. That's where they landed in total yardage given up. Now, on the scoring defensive side of it, you had Oklahoma go from 90th in year 1 under Brent Venables to 41st in year 2. And again, a lot of that, I'm going to tell you that scoring defense-wise, they spent an awful lot of time in the top 20 in the country leading up to that Texas game. And afterwards, when you saw them struggle a bit, when they had some guys that weren't 100%, that's when, you ended up losing Stutzman. You lost Gentry Williams, is important to that back half of that secondary. You saw some things that, they just needed to kind of shore up. And, the last 3 games, again, 35.7 points per game given up in the last 3 games of the season. That contributed a lot to where they fell off. Takeaways, year 1 under Oklahoma, or under Brent Venables, Oklahoma was 37th in the country. In year 2, they finished 3rd, tied for 3rd overall. They were averaging more than 2 takeaways a game. They were 2nd in interceptions, 3rd in takeaways all overall. Okay. Opponents' rush yards per game. Year 1 for Oklahoma, 104th. They bettered that to 42nd in year 2. Now, and then pass yards per game, year 1, 116th. They improved it a little bit, but only to 100th in year 2. I suspect there should be a bigger move towards that with the way that they've been recruiting that secondary. I suspect it'll be a little bit better in year 3. Now, opponents' yards per play, and this is probably one of the more important stats when you start looking at defense, right? In year 1, they were 76th in the country under BV's defense. They improved 25 places in year 2 to 51st. Just to kind of compare a lot of these things, his first year at Clemson, the Clemson defense they were 67th in opponents' yards per play on the season. They improved to 37th in year 2. So right around 25 places better. In year 3, they were number 1 in yards per play. In year 4, they were 15th in yards per play. In year 5, they were 8th in yards per play. Year 6, second. Year 7, second. Year 8, third. Year 9, 22nd. And year 10, they went back to third in opponents' yards per play. That's huge because that is a huge deal. If you go to pass yards per game, as I said, the first year for Oklahoma, pass yards per game, we were 116th. They went to 100th this year. Clemson in year 1 under Brent Venables, 63rd. Year 2, 45th. Year 3, 4th. Year 4, 16th. Year 5, 17th. Year 6, 7th. Year 7, 29th. Year 8, 5th. Year 9, 59th. And year 10, 40th in pass yards per game. Is your wireless company giving you a case of the what in the why is my wireless bill so expensive? Question: why are we paying so much for wireless service? Is it for speed, coverage, data, 5G access, mobile hotspot? Well, our new partners at Hall of Fame College Football, Mint Mobile, they have all these features, and for way less than big wireless. Like way less. As low as $15 a month. You can get signed up and activate your service immediately without having to leave your home. Mint Mobile reimagined the wireless process, making it easy and online. No more stores, no salespeople, and no giving. With Mint Mobile, you get all the features you become accustomed to with big wireless, the nation's largest 5G network, and service for as low as $15 a month. To start saving today, just log on to our partner website, trymintmobile.com/HOF. Again, that's trymintmobile.com/HOF. You can get signed up and activate your service immediately. Big Wireless wants you to believe they're the only option. Here's the deal. Big Wireless. You get comparable service to Big Wireless. You don't have to talk to a salesperson to do it. Largest 5G network in the country, as low as $15 a month. Sign up for Mint Mobile today so you can stop getting by Big Wireless. Now, if you go back and look at opponent rush yards per game for Clemson under Brent Venables, again, for Oklahoma, the first year they were 104th. Year 2, they were 42nd. For Clemson, they started off in their first year under BV at 59th in the country. They got better to 55th in year 2. Year 3, they were 9th in the country in rush yards per game. Year 4, 19th in the country in rush yards per game. Year 5, 23rd in the country in rush yards per game. Year 6, 11th. Year 7, 2nd. Year 8, 16th. And year 9, 18th. They dropped to 12th in his final year at the helm there. Takeaways. As I said, Oklahoma went from 37th in year 1 to third in year 2. Big time move for the OU Sooners. He went from 51st in year 1 at Clemson to 11th in year 2, 33rd in year 3, 42nd year 4, 42nd year 5, 75th year 6, 56th year 7, 10th, and then 19th in the final 2 years, or 10th, 19th, and 15th in his final 3 years at Clemson. That's takeaways, of course. Now, looking at scoring, total defense. Let's look at total defense. As I said, Oklahoma went from 123rd to 67th, year 1 to year 2. Year 1 to year 2 for Clemson on total defense. They were 56th in their first year under BV in 2012. 2013, 45th. 2014, 2nd. That was their third year. In their fourth year, 11th. In their fifth year, 10th. In their sixth year, 4th. Seventh year, 4th. Eighth year, 5th. Ninth year, 22nd. Guys, it just got better and better all the time. 10th year there, of course, they were in the top 15 again. Scoring defense. Again, under Brent Venables, Oklahoma was 90th in year 1. They improved to 41st, almost 50 places in year 2 on scoring defense. Clemson in year 1 was 47th under Brent Venables. They dropped to 36th in year 2. Year 3, they were second in the country at 17.5 points per game. Year 4, 28th. Year 5, 11th. Year 6, 3rd. Year 7, 1st. Year 8, 28th. Year 9, 2nd. And year 10, top 10 again. Top 10, 7 of his 10 years, they were in the top 10 in the country in scoring defense. Okay. This defense, if you see Oklahoma doing the same thing on defense, and you probably are going to do that because of the fact that recruiting-wise, they have made a concerted effort. The mandate was simple when he was hired to replace Lincoln Riley. Build a defense that can win in the SEC. That's what they've went and done. They haven't stopped building offenses that can win anywhere, but they have built a defense in Norman now that can win in the SEC. There's no two ways around it, folks. No two ways around it. Year 1, they had 4 guys in the top 1 or in the top 200 of recruiting on defense. I'm sorry, 6 guys in the top 200, 4 in the top 100 of recruiting on the defensive side of the ball. Year 2, you had in the 2022-23 class, you had 5 top 100 defenders. You had 8 top 200 defenders in there, led by, of course, Peyton Bowen, PJ Adebaware, Makari Vickers is in that list. Jacoby Johnson was in there. Samuel Omosiho. These are guys that have been in there in the top 100 coming in. Now, the 2024 class, again, I told you guys on a couple of videos back that, there a lot of these rankings were kind of all over the place, right? But in total, you had 5 players that were ranked in the top 100 of one of the top 4 major 4 recruiting sites rankings. Okay. 5 guys. We're talking, of course, David Stone, Nigel Smith, Jaden Jackson, Danny Okoye. Some of these guys were in the top 100. They had a total of 9 guys in the top 200 of one of the major 4 as well. Look, it just continues to get better. Right? Obviously, the big thing is to get guys in the trenches. They've added 4 top 100 defensive line prospects, either at edge or defensive line, the tackle positions, the 2 and 3 techniques. Okay. This is big, important for doing that. Again, the mandate was to get better on defense. We know they got the right guy to do that. Improved year 1 to year 2 tremendously. Now we hope to see that kind of improvement from year 2 to 3. As much as this schedule shakes up to be a tough schedule, when you start looking at wins and losses from 2023, okay, you have a defense that is the top defense as far as how much they're returning production wise from a year ago. Danny Stutzman starts off as a Butkus Award, lookout guy. I would tell you that when it comes to Billy Bowman, you better expect that he's going to be on on those lists for All-American awards. Him, of course, leading the country in interceptions and interceptions return for a touchdown. Look, they're ready to rock and roll. Gentry Williams, you hope to see him stay a little bit more healthy this season. When he was in the game, he was really good. Peyton Bowen, I expect big things out of, right? I expect big things out of. He's another one of those guys that when he was in the game last season, he made things happen. Okay. He also had some injury issues at times throughout the second half of the season when you started seeing him play pretty well. I expect big things out of him. PJ Adebawari, expect huge things out of him, right? You've got, a lot of guys that are along that defensive line. Look, it's time for Grayson Halton to step it up. It's time for guys like DeJoun Terry, another big-time defensive line prospect. That was huge to see him come back, right? Grayson Halton, him. But I expect that you're probably going to see Jaden Jackson a lot this season. I suspect that you're going to see a lot of David Stone, who was a top 10 overall recruit in the class, the number 1 defensive line prospect in the country, who was picked up by Oklahoma there. Don't forget about guys like Danny Okoye. Don't forget about guys like Nigel Smith. Don't forget about the guys that you already had there. Ethan Downs, he's returning, coming back at the defensive end position. Trace Ford, you would hope that he's a little better in year 2 of Venables' system and a little healthier than what you saw from him in year 1. They need some of these guys to step up, okay? The good news is they are building and have been building towards this. You've got a really good linebacker room. Kip Lewis, Jaron Canak coming back. Obviously, Danny Stutzman coming back as well. You hope you're going to probably start seeing some stuff out of Lewis Carter, Samuel Omosigo. These are big-time players. Those defensive back positions, it's just gotten better and better every year under Brent Venables as well. Expect to see more out of guys like Makari Vickers, Josiah Wagner. I think that those guys are going to come up big. Kendall Doby was huge last year playing the cheetah position. You also have Dasan McCullough, who can play cheetah, can probably scoot down to defensive end as well. Okay. I expect to see a little bit out of Danny Okoye as a freshman as well. He plays with a lot of violence and speed. That's the kind of guy that you want to see get into the game, at least into the rotation. I expect to see more of that this year. Woody Washington's already kind of talked about moving inside to play that nickel position a little bit more. I wouldn't be that surprised if that's what happened. But again, I'm going to ask you guys, like I did before, what happens if you do have the exact, the same type of improvement from year 2 to year 3 that you got from year 1 to year 2 on these defensive side of the ball? What if they're able to go, as you saw, go to a, top 4 in pass yards a game, top 15 or 20 in rush yards per game or opponent's yards per play per game, right? If they're in the top 20 of that, if they're one of the top scoring defenses in the country, like you saw at Clemson, where they went year 3, they were the number 2 scoring defense in the country under Brent Venables in year 3. Okay. What if that happens? If that happens and you see even an offense that's anywhere remotely close to what it was a year ago, then this is a team that will blow by 7.5 wins. They might blow by 9. They might blow by 9 and have an opportunity to play for a national championship, to get into the playoff. I hope everybody continues sleeping on this Oklahoma team. I know all you OU fans are not doing it, and you shouldn't do it. because this football team is being built the correct way. They are taking on the temperament, the toughness of their head coach. You're seeing them build first on defense. They're still building an offensive juggernaut. You put that together, this is a team that's going to be able to win the SEC. Maybe not in year one. By year 2, 3 in the SEC, I expect this Oklahoma football team to be playing for national championships. If it all works out the way it could happen right away. Tell me what you think. Jump in the comments. Let us know what you think about that. And let me know what you think, though, in there. Make sure you hit that like button. Visit our amazing partners, Mint Mobile, Devil Dog Brew and Beans. You can always jump in and check out Fanatics partnership as well, hofmedia.us/fanatics. Hey, the easiest, the cheapest, the free way for you to support the program, just hit the like button, folks. It helps us creators massively. Thanks a lot for joining me on this one. We will see you on the next one. Shout out to Bucky's.